Hey everyone, welcome back to Damn Tasty Vegan. My name is Maria Rose. So today I'm going to share with you how to substitute eggs for baking as well as for breakfast. So we're going to start with my favorite OG ride or die egg replacement that I've been using since the beginning of my vegan journey, the good old dependable flax egg. I love using flax egg because it adds omega-3 fatty acids, plus it works really well as a binding agent. So to make a flax egg, you mix 1 tablespoon of ground flaxseed, yes, make sure it's ground up, with 3 tablespoons of water. Stir it up, let it sit for about 5 minutes until it becomes nice and gelatinous and gooey, and then you got yourself an egg replacer. So you can also do the same thing with chia seeds, just make sure that they're ground up. These two work really well as binding agents in a recipe. Now on to an egg replacer that is quickly becoming one of my new favorites, the good old Aquafaba. Aquafaba is just the water that comes in a can of beans. Most people use the water that comes from a can of chickpeas because it has the most neutral flavor. You can honestly make Aquafaba from any sort of bean soaking water. 3 tablespoons of Aquafaba equals 1 whole egg. 2 tablespoons of Aquafaba equals 1 egg white. Now before you mix your Aquafaba into your recipe, you need to make sure that you whip it up for about 30 seconds to a minute to activate those starches and proteins in the Aquafaba. This helps it to become a better binding agent. And you want to whip it up until it starts to froth at the top a little and thicken just slightly. Now the cool thing about Aquafaba is the more that you whip it, the thicker and more fluffy it becomes. So Aquafaba can be used as a fantastic vegan mayonnaise replacement. You can make vegan meringues, and you can also make a really good frosting from Aquafaba. So anything that you need to be light and fluffy in any recipe, Aquafaba is your pal. Now the best way to store Aquafaba is to drain a can of chickpeas, and anything that you don't use for your recipe, pour it into an ice cube tray and freeze it. And then you always have perfectly portioned out cubes of Aquafaba. This next egg replacement kind of blew my mind a little bit, and so I just had to test it out. So this past week I made chocolate chip cookies using avocado. Yes. So a 1/4 cup of mashed avocado can replace 1 egg. Mashed avocado can also help replace some of the oil or vegan butter in a recipe. Avocado works really well as a binding agent as well as giving moisture to your recipe. Avocado gives your cookies or your baked goods a really nice fluffiness and a lift, as well as really good moisture. So my cookies almost came out a little bit cake-like, which was so interesting. So just a heads up, avocado will give your recipe a slight green tint if there's no other more dominant color that's in the recipe. But I think avocado would be really good egg replacement in like a brownie or a chocolate cake, or even banana bread. Now, just like you can use mashed avocado as an egg replacer, you can pretty much use any other fruit puree as an egg replacer. So a lot of people use mashed banana or applesauce. So a 1/4 cup of mashed banana or a 1/4 cup of applesauce replaces 1 egg. These are really good for when you need moisture and binding. That obviously if you add banana to a recipe, it's gonna taste like bananas. All right, you guys still with me? You hanging in there, learning all this cool stuff? So another way to replace eggs is to use baking soda and vinegar. So 1 egg equals 1 teaspoon of baking soda plus 1 tablespoon of vinegar. This works really well when you need eggs to be used as a leavening agent. So if you need those really fluffy pancakes, then use baking soda and vinegar. And the last way to replace eggs in baking is you can always buy one of those pre-boxed egg substitutes. I think Bob's Red Mill has one. These work really well as a binding agent as well as a leavening agent. So if you just want an all-in-one egg replacer and you don't know where to start, that's a good place to start, because then you can have it in your pantry, have it on hand always if you bake a lot, and then you don't have to think about it. All right, now let's talk about breakfast. So just because you're vegan doesn't mean you have to miss out on savory breakfast. You can still have scrambled eggs, omelets, breakfast casseroles, quiches, all of that good stuff, and I'm gonna show you how. The very first way, the OG way that I replaced eggs at breakfast was just making a good old-fashioned tofu scramble. Now I will link my recipe below on how to make tofu scramble. Tofu scramble. What the hell? What's tofu scramble? I have a few tricks up my sleeve on how to make it very, very tasty. So if you've made tofu scramble before and it turned out bland, you will not get that from this recipe. I will link that recipe below. The next way to replace eggs for breakfast is using mung beans, specifically split yellow mung beans. Now, I have a few recipes up on my YouTube channel as well as my blog on how I use mung beans to make everything from quiches to omelets, breakfast sandwiches, and breakfast casseroles. Mung beans are a delicious, easy, healthy way to replace eggs. So all you have to do is make sure that you soak them overnight, and then you just put them in the blender with a few different things, the different spices, and then that little liquid can be used to make anything your heart desires, really. All right, so if you don't want to really hassle in the kitchen and blend together to make your own homemade omelet batter, you can also just buy yourself a little bottle of Just Egg. And I also think Follow Your Heart has a pre-made egg mix that you can just buy at the grocery store, but wham bam, ready to go. And I also read that Just Egg is working to make it cheaper than the cost of actual eggs. So I don't know, people from the future, let me know if Just ever accomplishes that. All right, everyone, and that should give you a good kickstart on how to replace eggs in baking and in breakfast. I have a blog post that I will link below that goes into more detail about that if you want it all in one place. I also show you how to make the most delicious vegan deviled eggs that will blow your mind. So make sure to check out that post below. Comment below on what your favorite egg replacement is, and let me know if you have any questions. And I will see you all in the next video. Thanks. Bye.